Get that water out of the goddamn huddle. I tell you when you get a fucking water break.
Welcome to the Buccaneers Observer Podcast. This is Ralph Phillips.
I'm Molly Bay.
Today is October 16th, 2019. Just got finished doing the coach's film for the London game against the Panthers.
How are you feeling after that one?
Well, I'm feeling pretty much about what we felt after the game. A lot of the stuff that we thought was the problem. A couple of other different things, but we'll get to that in just a second. First, I want to do some fact checks and follow-ups. Fact check. The 2011 London game score against the Bears was 24-18 for the Bears, not 45-something like Molly had said.
You just love these when I'm wrong.
Yes, I do. A follow-up. Austin Collie was the wide receiver who Peyton Manning benched for trying to catch the ball one-handed.
Oh, wow. Okay. I remember that name. Where's he? Disappeared.
He's probably in a corner somewhere sobbing because he disappointed Peyton Manning one time. Not as bad as Aaron Rodgers, though.
Oh, gosh.
Get Aaron Rodgers mad at you. He ain't never throwing you the ball again.
I like to watch their games now and just think about every time one of the receivers misses, how bad he just pissed off Aaron. Well, that'll be the last target he gets this game. I don't know how Jimmy Graham is still on that team.
Why?
I think he gets a lot of drops.
Okay. Follow up. Scotty Miller has had 10 targets and 3 catches. I thought he had more targets than that. I think I had said about 20. I was just pulling it up my butt, but it's only been 10. 30% catch rate anyhow. Yeah,
that's still not great.
No, it's not great, but with the game film, and I've got the video up on YouTube if you want to check it out, go check it out. It's called Panthers without Buccaneers. Buckers. Things I found interesting. But you'll see Scotty Miller was open quite a few times.
Jameis just can't see him.
He does. Well, Jameis can't see.
He can't see a lot of people, but Scotty Miller in particular because he's so tiny.
It's funny we say tiny, but I mean, he's a normal sized dude.
Yeah.
Was he 5'11"?
He's like an average
5'10", 5'11".
person. Just not an average football player.
No, not a big old dude. Like, what's his name? Anthony, gosh, I want to say Collins, but it's not Collins. On our team, defense. Big tall guy, 6'8".
Nelson.
Anthony Nelson. Yeah. We don't play him a whole lot. All right, let's get to the game. What did Ralph see? To give it a summary, Winston was bad. We all knew that. And I was thinking, well, you watch the game film, you see different stuff. Maybe it wasn't Winston. Maybe he was under a lot of pressure. No, he was just bad. He was really bad. I started kind of charting out things or just keeping track of all the mistakes he made. He had happy feet 9 times. Where he scrambled out of the pocket when he didn't need to, or he scrambled around when he didn't need to. Almost every sack was due to him scrambling into defenders or running backs not picking up blitzes.
So not the offensive line?
No, the offensive line played well. I really like Earl Watford.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he did a good job. I think I only saw one mistake that he had where he whiffed on blocking Luke Kuechly.
Oh, yeah, that one was funny.
During a run play, he almost fell down.
It was like Kuechly glitched. Like he was in front of him one second and then not the next second. And Earl was like, where'd he go?
He did like an Olay.
Yeah.
Just zip. So Winston had happy feet 9 times where he rushed out of the pocket when he didn't need to or rushed around when he didn't need to. Threw 6 bad passes where they were either over the receiver, behind the receiver, at the receiver's feet. He had 2 poor decisions.
Only 2?
Yeah.
But that doesn't include the scrambles and the happy feet.
Right. That was just 2 where you went, you shouldn't have thrown that pass.
Okay.
And the big one was he had 5 times where he did not see the field. He did not see wide open receivers. So, yes, the vast majority of blame for this game goes squarely on Jameis Winston's shoulders.
I just don't understand it. He really regressed this game, and I don't understand why.
I don't either. But he seems to have these games every now and then, and this is just one of those times. Now, the Panthers blitzed a lot. I mean, they blitzed a lot. I didn't chart it out to see exactly how much compared to the Buccaneers, but we didn't blitz hardly any. It was 2 completely different game plans on the defense. But they did blitz a lot. We picked up a lot of their blitzes, but like I said, the running backs, all of them. Ronald Jones was the worst defender, but then...
And that is why he is not starting.
Probably. Yeah, he seems to be the worst in pass protection. Adari, he was the second worst, and then Peyton Barber had one time I saw where he did not pick up a defender well. But yeah, a lot of the sacks and issues with Winston being under pressure was because the running backs just were not picking up their guys, or they would miss them, or they would, chip them but not chip them enough, and they were able to get through and put pressure on Winston or sacking. So that would be the second thing. Winston being bad was the first thing. Running backs bad at pass protection would be the second thing. Now, the third thing I would say would be the coaching. We got out-coached.
Again, this is what happened in New Orleans.
Yes. They were blitzing all the time, just about. And we did not have a counter for Winston. We didn't have enough checkdowns. We didn't have hot routes. We didn't do slants. I mean, they were leaving the back end or the front end of the middle of the field open all the time. And we had never had anybody going in that direction. So they should have realized that that the Panthers were blitzing a lot. And, I don't know if it was Winston not, reading it and changing the play at the line of scrimmage, or if the offensive coordinator just didn't adjust to it. And then the last thing was our wide receivers dropping passes.
That one by Mike Evans.
There was two by Mike Evans. That one was, I was dropped right in the breadbasket. That would have been a touchdown. And then there was another one late in the game where he jumped up and it went right off his hands. It was like a 40-yard or two. He had it bounced right out of his hands. He had dropped passes. The only one that didn't have dropped passes was Chris Godwin. Dare dropped a pass. There was 5 dropped passes that I counted. So, when you combine all that together with 5 dropped passes, 9 times when you scramble, you get happy feet, 6 bad passes, 2 poor decisions, and 5 times you didn't see open receivers down the field, you cannot win.
And then plus your running backs whiffing on blocks.
Running backs whiffing on blocks, all the turnovers. It was just a bad performance on the offense. The defense, on the other hand, played great. The offensive line played well. Offensive line played very well.
So they're the only unit that played well on the offense, but they're getting all the heat.
Yeah, it's funny how that works, isn't it? Yeah. Well, it makes them look bad because when Jameis Winston scrambles, you think, he's under pressure.
Right.
The vast majority of the time that he scrambled, he was not under pressure. He just had phantom pressure.
And then sacks, that looks bad on the offensive line.
Yes, there might have been 1 sack that you could attribute to the offensive line.
Out of 7?
Out of 7.
That's bad.
Chris Godwin played well, of course. His stats showed it up. And people are giving Jameis Winston a hard time, but he is the one throwing Chris Godwin the ball. Chris Godwin's not just like having the ball teleported to him. It is Jameis Winston throwing the ball.
Yeah.
So when you have a receiver get that much yardage, you got to give a little bit of credit to the quarterback. When Jameis Winston was throwing the ball, when he wasn't running around with a chicken with his head cut off, he did pretty well. If he would have just stayed in the pocket, it was so interesting watching the difference between Jameis Winston and Kyle Allen in the pocket. Kyle Allen was just calm, cool, and collected. If he felt pressure, he threw the ball, which we got a lot of pressure on Kyle Allen, especially the first quarter. The first quarter, I don't think there was a pass play that we didn't get pressure on him, but he'd just get the ball out. Whether it was a bad pass, which he threw quite a few bad passes, or throw it in tight coverage, it didn't matter. He'd just get the ball out immediately when he felt pressure. Jameis wouldn't do that. And there was quite a few times where Jameis should have done that because he had wide open receivers, but he would pull the ball down and start running around. Our defense played good. There was the one play, who was it? Number 10 or 10, no, number 12. Can't remember. We went up against Vernon Hargreaves. This was on the drive where they scored they started off on the 1 yard line, went 99 yards, scored a touchdown. There was a large pass play down the left sideline. Vernon Hargreaves was covering his guy. The guy caught the pass. That should have been a penalty because the guy, number 12, I can't remember what his name is.
So DJ Moore or
I think it was
Samuel?
DJ Moore. I think it was DJ Moore. DJ Moore. Yes, it was DJ Moore. He pushed Hargreaves so hard in the back that Hargreaves almost fell, and he pushed him 5 yards away from him. How the refs didn't see that is beyond me, but we've had a rash of these things. And that is what caused the separation, allowing DJ Moore to catch that long pass. Take that play out of the equation, and they probably would not have driven down 99 yards and scored that play because that was like a 40-yard pass.
Now, when you notice that we get screwed by the refs, are you looking to see non-calls that work against the Panthers too?
Oh, yeah. Well, I point out a couple of them in the video.
Okay.
Vita Vea hit Kyle Allen in the face a couple times.
Oh, yeah. He hit him with his forearm,
He
too, like right to the face.
He elbowed him in the face.
Yeah.
That wasn't called. We did get Jameis Winston got hit in the helmet a couple times, and that wasn't called. Then there was the sack by Gerald McCoy. Gerald McCoy left his feet and put all of his weight on Jameis Winston when they went to the ground. He landed on top of Jameis Winston with all of his weight and left his feet to do it. That should have been a penalty.
But he's such a nice guy, Ralph.
He wanted to prove a point.
Maybe he softly belly flopped.
He landed on him like a cloud.
Oh, right.
But yeah, the ref was standing right there. I don't know how that's a penalty. And that's one thing I hate about all these new rules. Besides the fact that I just hate them just for their intentions. I think it's silly to, try.
It's a dumb rule.
All these rules are dumb. But the problem is that they're not consistent with them. They'll call them, sometimes it's like the hands to the helmet on a quarterback. Sometimes they call it, sometimes they don't. And, landing on the quarterback, sometimes they call it, sometimes they don't. Hitting the quarterback below the knees, sometimes they call it, sometimes they don't. And it's just the inconsistency. And there's a thing in engineering, they say the more complex something is, the easier it is to break. And that's how I feel with all these NFL rules. If you look at the NFL rule book now, it's thick. They've just been adding rules and adding rules and adding rules, and that's breaking the system. It's just too much. It's too much for these refs to have to watch. So they're going to miss some, and sometimes they're going to be, make bad judgments on them. There was one time where Pinion got hit after punting the ball. 2 refs standing right there. Guy slams right into him.
And he landed on his ass. It wasn't like they just kind of shoved him.
No. Guy slams right into him. Pinion falls down. He turns around to the refs immediately. And it was like, what? They didn't call it. Quite a bit of that. But this wasn't a game where I'll say that the refs tilted the game. You could make an argument for it. They didn't do a good job, of course.
But it wasn't like that Monday night game with the Bears and the Green Bay Packers, or not the Bears, the Lions and the Packers.
Oh, the Lions got so screwed.
Totally hosed the Lions that whole game.
Eesh, they got to do something about this ref stuff. And the best thing to do is to remove a lot of these rules. They're silly.
And that game in particular is a perfect example of why having a large market team is advantageous when it comes to that.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Packers, all these calls went in their favor. The Lions got totally screwed. They don't have a big market. The Packers do.
Right, yeah. They got a big market as far as their city is concerned, but the fan base is not that large. Green Bay is actually a very small market. It's actually the smallest market in all of sports. Green Bay, Wisconsin, population-wise. But,
right.
As far as fan base, it's
right.
huge. Detroit does not have that huge fan base. So, yeah, they don't get the calls that... they never would have... They never would have called that at Green Bay against the Green Bay guy. No, they never would have done it. Especially to turn the game like that. And those 2 penalties cost Detroit the game. And they were both wrong. Detroit was the better team in there. But the third team, the referees, were playing for the Packers, apparently. But yeah, back to the defense. Our defense played very well. We generated pressure without a lot of blitzes. Again, most of the passing receptions were due to the linebackers, mainly Devin White.
Which that's been the story all season.
Yeah.
It was Kevin Minter.
It was Kevin Minter before. Right. Devin White is the one that gave up the pass to Greg Olsen. I think it was a 20, 30-yard pass when they were backed up. They were in the 13 on that 99-yard drive. He gave that one up. He also gave up, he had mistaken coverage on the McCaffrey touchdown where McCaffrey had that swing pass and there was nobody covering him. That was because Devin White was supposed to be covering him. Devin White was too busy on the other side of the field.
With Levante David.
Yeah, standing beside Levante David. It's just an issue with this defense that I think if they can get it down, it's going to make a huge difference in our reception totals against the opposing team. It's going to reduce that quite a bit. If we can just get the linebackers to get a little bit better in their coverage, to know where they're supposed to be, really. It seems like they're in the wrong spots a lot. The secondary played well. Carlton Davis gave up a pass. Other than that, he was pretty good.
They're getting some heat. How would you even be able to prove that it's not the secondary statistically? I wonder.
The only way you could do it is to see who is catching the ball and who's covered, whose responsibility it is. And the only way you can do that is by watching the film.
Yeah.
Now our cornerbacks and our secondary is going to get beat. It's just going to happen, especially the way this defense is designed. But, a lot of it is either the referees are not calling the offensive pass interference or, the linebackers are not in good coverage. But if you look at the possessions, we had, I think, 16. We had 16 possessions. They had 16 possessions. Of those 16 possessions, 5 of them started off in Tampa Bay territory. Of our 16 possessions, only 1 started off in Carolina territory. So they had much better field position, and that was due to the turnovers mainly. But their plays, they only had 2 drives that were 10 plays or longer.
Wow.
We had 2 as well.
Okay, so we're even there. I gotcha.
But the yardage is what I was looking at. They had 4 possessions that were over 10 yards.
10 yards?
Yes, they gained over 10 yards.
Okay.
4. So that means 12 possessions they had, we kept them under 10 yards. As a matter of fact, 5 of them were either 0 or negative yardage.
Okay, when you say possessions, you mean like first, second, third down?
Yes.
What?
Yeah. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. If you look at ours, we had 9 possessions that were over 10 yards. Most of them were way over 10 yards. We had 19 yards, 37 yards, 14 yards, 46 yards, 39 yards, 75 yards, 75 yards, 22 yards, and 49 yards gained. They didn't gain any yardage on us. I mean, our defense really shut them down. They had the one where they started off on the 1 yard line, drove 99 yards, and scored. That one, a large chunk of that was on that play where the guy pushed Vernon Hargreaves in the back. That should have been offensive pass interference. That would have backed them up. There's no way they would have driven down the field 99 yards. Guarantee you.
Without cheating.
And in the first play, or their first possession of the fourth down,
Fourth quarter,
they drove 75 yards and got a touchdown. Other than that, all their scores were short yardage. They, on the turnovers.
Wow.
So it's not like they were just driving down the field on us and scoring. When you see that, that's when you go, oh man, your team sucks. When the guys because that's what we've seen with our defense for the past 5 years.
Yeah.
Just teams can just drive down the field and score on us. At will. Yeah, no, they couldn't do that here. Teams have not been able to do that with us this year. Our defense played very well. We had a lot of weird-looking formations as usual. They're always throwing something different in there. It's fun to watch. But you got to give props to our defense you got to figure 7 turnovers. 7 turnovers, and they scored 20 points off of 7 turnovers. I mean, that's incredible. We kept on the field goals and, just really did a great job or, made them punt it. I mean, the first interception, they got the ball on our 29. They got the ball on our 29. That first play where Jameis Winston threw the interception, they lost 2 yards on 4 play.
Wow.
I mean, they ended up with a negative 2 yards on that drive, and they ended up having to kick a 31-yard field goal. The next interception, they got the ball on the 36, on Tampa Bay's 36. They scored a touchdown in 4 plays. Then they got a fumble, and they had to punt it. It was 3 and out. Then they got an interception on our 8-yard line in 1 play, scored a touchdown. Then there was a muffed punt. They got the ball on our 17. They lost 4 yards on that play, net 4 yards on that drive. They gained 6 yards on that because of a penalty on Tampa Bay. But they ended up kicking a field goal from Tampa Bay 11. So they got the ball on the 17, Tampa Bay 17. They ended up kicking a field goal from the 11. So our defense held them there. Then they got an interception on the Tampa Bay 24. And in 4 downs, they got 1 yard.
Wow.
And then they kicked a field goal and missed it. So,
that's crazy.
Yeah, our defense really did a good job. And our run defense is just seriously no joke. There was one, towards the end of the game, they were running the ball, and we had a lineup. This was so awesome to see. We had Shaquille Barrett. This was on the defensive line. We had Shaquille Barrett, Nacho, Will Golston, Vita Vea, Ndamukong Suh, and Nassib on the line. They couldn't go anywhere. I mean, I'm pretty sure that every single run was a tackle for a loss. We were just blowing them up at that point. Yeah, it was really neat. But yeah, our offense just crapped the bed, and a large part of it was Jameis Winston. And that's what cost us the game. And you want to say, just logically say, well, Carolina's defense played really well. I just didn't see anything. Mario Addison did good. He did okay. He couldn't do much against Donovan Smith. Donovan Smith played really well. I think there was one, he got beat one time. Donovan Smith did. Josh Wells, of all of them, he was the weak link, but he wasn't horrible.
And he didn't have a lot of practice that week.
That's right.
Missed a day because his wife was having a baby. And they didn't decide that he was starting because who else was going to start? Zach Bailey, I think.
Zach Bailey.
And he broke his ankle in practice. So Josh Wells had like 1 day of practice before they leave to go to London.
And what surprised me about that is that they didn't give him a lot of help.
Interesting.
Yes, they did not keep tight ends
They
in.
trusted him, apparently.
Yeah, and the running backs were really no help at all in the passing game.
If we're being honest.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. The running backs gave up a lot of stuff. They looked really confused. Now, that's where, if I were to give the Carolina Panthers defense credit, I'm going to give it to, what's their defensive coordinator's name?
Washington? The Panthers?
Yes.
Yeah, Washington.
Okay. He did a good job of showing a lot of different looks, confusing Winston for sure. But the running backs, they got confused as to who they were supposed to block a lot.
Interesting.
So I would give them credit for that. But as far as what Jimmy's and Joe's matchups and everything, they didn't beat our offensive line. So that's why I would say that the Carolina's defense it just didn't really impress me. What impressed me was the coaching. That was pretty good. Just all the different looks and the confusion that they got our not our offensive line, but Winston and the running backs in as far as pass protection is concerned.
What do you think about their coverage?
Yeah, it was pretty good, but, like I said, Winston had plenty of opportunities to make great passes. There was quite a few instances, if you want to see it, go look at the video, where he had guys wide open.
Wow, that's typical.
Right, but that's also bad for the secondary of Carolina to have guys that wide open.
Yeah.
We don't have guys that wide open. We used to, but it's rare now if we have guys wide open.
If they are, it's usually on the linebackers. Devin White.
Kevin Minter.
Kevin Minter.
So, yeah, the secondary of the Panthers wasn't that great. They had a lot of busted coverage on us because we had way too many guys wide open. And if Jameis Winston would keep his feet still, move around in the pocket a little bit, but keep his head downfield, we would have won this game easy, even with the 7 turnovers, because there was so many times, like I said, there was 5 times where he had open receivers downfield. And I'm not talking about, check downs. I'm talking about guys blazing down the field wide open for touchdowns. Generally, there was 3 or 4 of those.
And again, we lost by 11 points. You only need to hit 2 of those for touchdowns to change that game.
Yeah, and like I said with Scotty Miller, and we talked about this in the last podcast, just stop throwing the ball to Scotty Miller. Yeah, I've changed my mind on that.
Okay.
That guy was getting open.
Jameis just couldn't see him.
He wouldn't see him. There was a couple times he blazed down the field and just beat all the coverage, and he was wide open. And Jameis Winston was either, running around like a chicken with his head cut off, or just didn't see him at all and threw it to somebody else. So I think Scotty Miller is going to be an asset to this team. He's fast, man. That guy's fast.
Jameis has just got to get the ball to him.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like.
Yeah. Jameis Winston needs to stop worrying about pressure. He's too dependent on his feet. And I think this goes along with what Bruce Arians says about him trying to be Superman. He's not trying to be Superman by throwing the ball. He's trying to be Superman with his feet. I guess you could call him the Flash then instead of Superman. But, he needs to really, really, really start working on keeping his eyes downfield, scanning the field, keep his body in constant preparation to throw that ball, bounce around in that pocket. Only run out of the pocket when it's a last resort, because almost every time he got tackled, it was because he ran into a defender. Almost every time.
You know what was the most annoying to me watching him scramble was that he often ran to the guy who just had to stick his arm out.
Yeah.
And it was especially like there would be our offensive lineman between that defender and Jameis, and Jameis runs past our guy. So our guy doesn't have the momentum anymore.
Right.
To help block. Yeah, the leverage. So the guy he's blocking just turns over. Around or leans over, puts an arm out. Yeah. And
that Gerald McCoy sack, the one I was talking about where he put all the weight onto Jameis Winston when he sacked him, Jameis Winston had no reason to run out of the pocket. I don't know why he did. And he runs right beside Donovan Smith, who's got his guy under control, but he runs right by him. And it was 77, Kyle Love, who reaches out and grabs hold of Winston. Well, Winston gets out of his grasp, spins around backwards, and runs back into the pocket. which was, I don't know what that was all about, and run smack dab into Gerald McCoy. He's got to learn to calm down, stay in the pocket, only run out in last resort, or if you're going to pick up good yardage. But this running, he's not running across the line of scrimmage. He's just trying to get out of the pocket, to the left or right.
Yeah, he usually runs to the left, I think.
Usually he'll spin.
Yeah.
He spins to the left. But, he's got to stop doing that. Trust your blockers. If you get sacked, if you get hit, then let it be. That's their fault, But, because what he does when he scrambles is he puts the ball down, he puts his head down, and he starts looking around in the pocket. He's not looking downfield anymore. And these guys are getting open. So there's that. Couple of things I want to point out. Our defense never, ever gets tricked. This was an issue I had for years with the Buccaneers. When there was a bootleg or some fake plays.
They bit every time. Especially Gerald McCoy. They bit every time. Well, now, never, ever. They are probably some of the football smartest people I've ever watched. I mean, the whole defensive line keeps their eye on that ball, and they never get fooled. There might be one guy every now and then gets fooled, but the rest of them are, they're running right to the ball. So that's really impressive to me. Ndamukong Suh, he never gets fooled. Carl Nassib, every now and then, he'll try to come in to the back. He likes to come into the back and grab the runner from behind, so he'll get fooled doing that. But Vita Vea hardly gets fooled. Sue hardly gets fooled. Shaq Barrett never gets fooled. This guy, I've been watching him, and if you go back and you listen to the podcast when we first got him, I said one thing about Shaq Barrett, you're going to get two things. You're going to get two things. One thing with Shaq Barrett is you're going to get one great play a game. From all the games I watched him with Denver, you're going to get one great play a game, and he never makes mistakes. Now, this is 6 games in. I have yet to see him make a mistake. That is incredible. The guy doesn't make mistakes. He always keeps contained. He always is in the right spot at the right time. It's just, I've never seen anything like that. A guy that never makes mistakes. Good pickup by Jason Light.
Yeah, definitely. Another interesting thing, Vita Vea loves this game. He loves this team, too. He is always on the sideline when the offense is out there, jumping up and down, hooting and hollering, and just so excited. He does that little thing, that Hulk thing where he flexes his arms down by us. He's like, oh. And every time you get a glimpse of the sideline, look for Vita Vea. You're going to see him. He's going to be near the ball if it goes out of bounds or whatever, and he's going to run over and congratulate guys and all that. I mean, he's just got a lot of juice. Him and Bo Allen both. But Vita Vea is just, you can just see him. He just loves this game. He loves playing football. Like I said, I like 71 Warford. He plays tough. Ryan Smith. Okay, we all know that he got that ball on the 1-yard line on special teams after the punt. We all know he's the one that popped out the ball, got the turnover on I think it was a punt. Yeah, the punt that we kicked to Carolina. He came up behind the guy, popped the ball out, and we recovered it. Almost every special teams play, he was doing something like that. It was, and we talked about this last year with him. He's just a great special teamer, but he does something. I think one I put in the video where he just blows the gunner up, man. I mean, just knocks him out of bounds on his ass, and the guy's just totally taken out of the play. But he's just very, very good on special teams. He's always around the ball. He's always blocking his guys. He's just always doing what he needs to do and plus. So he had 4 good special teams plays.
Wow.
Yes.
That's impressive.
Very impressive, considering we haven't had hardly any good special teams plays in 6 weeks. Now we got somebody out there trying to blow stuff up. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's, like I said, it was pretty much everything we saw. It was a little bit worse with Jameis Winston with his scrambling. Now, a couple of times he did scramble outside the pocket and do okay. And that's the problem. He'll do okay on some of these, and sometimes he'll make great plays, when he scrambles. But then there's those times, which is the majority of the time, where it's just not a good idea. He would be so much better off if he didn't, to put concrete blocks on his feet. Just make him stay in that pocket.
Because those few good plays that he makes gives him this false sense that he can be productive scrambling.
Yes.
And it encourages him to do it more.
Right. And I think there was a stat, I don't know if it was last year or this year, the early part of this year, where Jameis Winston was rated one of the highest quarterbacks outside the pocket.
Yeah, that was last year.
That was last year. Right. So, you hear that stuff and you go, oh, well, it's a good idea for me to run outside the pocket. No, it's not.
Stop it.
It'd be different if he did like Aaron Rodgers. If you've seen Aaron Rodgers runs outside the pocket all the time. But when Aaron Rodgers runs outside the pocket, he always keeps his feet set. He keeps the ball cocked, and he's always looking downfield. He's never looking at the guys coming at him. He's never looking really even where to run. He's just, but if he sees somebody open as he's scrambling, he can zip it real quick.
Right. And if he doesn't find somebody open, then he decides to run.
Right, or throws it out of bounds.
Yeah.
Yes. But Winston doesn't do that. Winston only throws the ball away when he's getting clobbered. He'll try to throw it out of bounds. But yeah, just about every bad play you could think of with Winston was because he scrambled out of the pocket when he didn't have to. And like I said, it's in the video. You could see it many a times, where while he's got the ball down and he's looking around at where to scramble to, there's wide open receivers down the field. If he would have kept his head up for just a half a second longer, he'd been able to see a wide open guy. But we've been talking about this for years. That's something that Jameis Winston really needs to work on. In this game, it really showed, and I don't know if he's ever going to get better with it. I hope that Bruce Arians and Leftwich and Tom Moore have been working with him on that. And I hope they've been working with him, and he just lost it in this one.
Yeah, and Bruce Arians did say when he gets hit early, it kind of throws him off, and that's what happened this game.
He gets rattled.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought he played better. When I watched the broadcast version, I thought Winston played better in about mid third quarter and the fourth quarter. I thought he played better. But then watching the coach's film, no, he didn't.
Oh, really?
No. He was just bad the whole game.
Well, wasn't his first pass an interception?
Yes.
But he hadn't gotten hit at that point.
No.
So I don't understand how him getting hit early affected that. Seems to me like the interception, the first play, threw him off.
He got pressured on that play, believe it or not. It was a very fast pass, but he got pressure, and I think he just decided to throw it because he saw the pressure coming. No, he didn't get hit on that play. But yeah, his first pass was an interception. His second pass was thrown behind Bobo Wilson. He started off really rough. He started off bad, and then it just went downhill from there.
Speaking of Bobo Wilson, we cut him.
That's right. Yep, not on the team no more.
I'm not too upset about it.
No. When you're on the team and you're on the team because you're a punt returner, it seems like the thing to do would be to be a good punt returner.
You should maybe return a punt every now and then.
Or at least catch the ball. That one he fumbled, he did everything wrong that you're not supposed to do when you field a punt. Everything. Took his eyes off the ball. He caught it on the side of his body. He outstretched his arms.
Yeah, it was like the alligator arms.
It was ridiculous. Yeah, I'm not upset about him getting cut.
Here's when I think he should have been cut. When he was a rookie and we were on Hard Knocks and they told him not to leave and he left anyway. That's when Dirk Cutter should have cut his ass.
Yeah, and they called him on the phone, and they were like, hey, you're on the team, you need to come. He was like, well, I don't know if I'll be able to make it in. He just was not excited at all, and he was kind of...
Not grateful for the opportunity.
Yeah, and I remember saying then, I was like, man, I don't want this guy on our team.
Yeah.
But, I haven't had a problem with him, really. His punt returns have been crap. He does way too much dancing around. And then when he fumbled the ball, that was just... I was like... we don't call for people to get cut, but I was like, Bruce Arians has got to do something for accountability in this guy's situation, and I'm glad he did.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it got some of the fan base
back on board a little bit.
I don't know if back on board, but it did show him putting his money where his mouth is.
We said this in the last podcast. We've been saying this, but this is a good team. I know there's people out there that, from all the comments and discussions I've gotten in with people, the secondary is trash. Offensive line is trash. Jameis Winston is trash. Byron Leftwich is not a good offensive coordinator. Those are pretty much the things that you hear from just about everybody. I'm here to tell you those things are not correct. We are a good team. Think about this. We had 7 turnovers and 7 sacks, right? Was it 7 sacks?
I think so.
A lot of sacks. 5 sacks, somewhere in there. That's 7 turnovers, and we were still in this game.
11 points down.
11 points down. That's incredible. That just goes to show how good of a team we have, that we could play that bad and still be in it. Our defense is going to be phenomenal. Right now, it's really good, especially against the run. There's no question. There's nobody's going to be able to run on us. Me and you said that in February when When did we get Vita Vea? I mean, the Kong Su.
May, maybe?
Yeah, we said then, we was like, nobody's going to be able to run on us. And nobody has been able to. And they're not going to. I mean, the guys we have on our defensive line, I mean, Golston is a great run stopper. Nassib's a great run stopper. Vita Vea is a great run stopper. Kong Su is a great run stopper. I mean, we got a lot of really good run stoppers on there. And all those guys are good pass rushers, too. And Vita Vea's a good pass rusher. Kong Su's, he's a pretty decent pass rusher. I mean, that's not his forte, but he'll get there. Nassib's a good pass rusher. We got Shaq Barrett's a great pass rusher. Then you got our linebackers, inside linebackers, Levante David and Devin White. Devin White made some good plays, in the run game. Our secondary is not bad. I'm telling you guys, it's not bad. Our biggest problem is the refs not calling offensive pass interference, and our linebackers not getting positioned correctly. Now, our secondary is going to get beat. All secondaries are going to get beat, but they're not costing us the game.
That would be our offense.
Yes, this game was definitely our offense. And, our offense is really good. We've got above average offensive line. We got decent running backs. We've got outstanding wide receivers. And if Jameis Winston can just get his head in check, or his feet in check, one of the two, he's a good quarterback. So we've got a good team. I'm still sticking with Tennessee, man. Still sticking with it.
We said that was the floor. We're 2-4, so we got 2 more losses. The Titans, I'm not worried about. Did you hear they benched Mariota? It's Ryan Tannehill going forward.
I know. I'm not worried about the Titans at all. The Saints, I'm worried about. Texans, maybe.
And we play Seattle after Tennessee.
I'm not really worried about Seattle.
They're just always a solid team.
Yeah, they're solid,
always competitive.
Very physical, very solid. So are we. It's the Saints. The Saints are the ones that worry me the most. But anyhow, we're a good team. It's a long season. We've had some bumps. Got beat by the 49ers. Got beat by the Saints. Got beat by the Giants. We should have won the Giants game. And then we got beat by the Panthers. We got a lot of new players, new system. I'm telling you, man, I'm just very confident that this is a good team. This is the best team we've had in a long, long time. So anyhow, what do you think?
I'm not as upset about the loss. Kind of worked through it. I am a little bummed about the bye week.
I know, that's what sucks the worst.
Yeah, it does suck.
It's like, man, we got football Sunday. We have to watch all these other scrubby teams.
Yeah. So I'm ready to move on to the Titans.
It's at Tennessee.
Yeah. 2 more games on this road streak.
Humphreys, I don't think they're using him a whole lot there. But he could do some damage to us. He's exactly the kind of guy that we would have problems with going across the middle there with our linebackers covering him. I don't even know. Is he playing the slot at Tennessee, or is he a wide receiver 1 or 2? We don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't know. I haven't watched a single Tennessee game this year.
Me neither. Ugh, they're so boring.
Ugh.
I know.
All right, but that's going to wrap it up for us. If you want to, go check out the video on YouTube, the YouTubes. See what you think. See if my argument holds water. If not, well, let me know.
Maybe we'll get some more salty Panthers fans.
No, gosh, there's some salty. They're mainly mad because I don't give them credit for their defense being so good. And I don't. I don't think they're that great. You know what? You want to hear good shit about the Panthers? Go listen to a Panthers podcast. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm not saying their defense is bad by any means. It's not that great. I think we're the better team. We showed them in week 2. Oh, right. But one person said that was because the refs and their quarterback was hurt. Well, that's true, too. That's what you get for having Cam Newton as your quarterback. Right. And that's my excuse for Carolina getting beat by Carolina. Our quarterback was hurt in the brain. He's not playing well. I don't think it was the Panthers that did anything. Not their players. I think the coaches did a good job showing different looks and confusion. Mainly our running backs as to who to block. But even when they did know who to block, they didn't do a good job of blocking them. But it was mainly Winston. 99%. So there's that. All righty. That's going to wrap it for us. You can do it. I can do this. That's going to wrap it up for us. Till next time. Go Bucs.